Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about something that doesn't always get brought up enough, and this applies to uh, not only people who are really serious fitness enthusiasts, but I think it applies to the general population as well, and this includes both men and women. You know, when people first start working out or trying to get into shape, they might have a goal physique. And I want to state up front, I think most people realize physique is not what I train for. It's not what I particularly care about. A lot of my clients do have very impressive physiques, but it's almost a side effect of the strength training that we do. Because we spend a lot of time worried about hypertrophy and body composition, oftentimes for weight classes and everything else. A lot of my lifters do end up with very impressive physiques, but keeping in mind our goal is usually strength and performance. Now, that being said, people have this idea of what they're looking for, but then they don't realize that usually the physique that they want requires them to have a lot more muscle than they would think. And it's oftentimes a case of not realizing how much muscle mass someone they're looking at really has. They might have a general idea, but they don't always realize the body weight and body composition. For example, Michelle in these videos, a lot of women see her and go, oh, wow, she looks good. But they don't realize her body weight. They're seeing her with a smaller waist, a fit athletic woman, and they're thinking, oh, what is she, 120 pounds, until they realize she's close to 170 pounds here, right? So start doing the math on the muscle. There are women who will see that and say, oh, wait a minute, she has a little less body fat than me and outweighs me by 30 pounds. Right. See the point. Or, the same thing, a woman who might be at that body weight and then realize that, there's a significant body fat difference. So they would not have to be where she is. They would not only have to lose all that body fat, they would have to regain that weight in muscle. Right? That's a lot of muscle. And I'm not even going to get into to me because, again, people don't realize just from the videos sometimes my actual size. They don't realize I'm walking around at 225 pounds. Okay, in these videos. So, and I'm almost 50 years old. But, most people aren't chasing my physique anyway, so who cares, right? So, back over to the point with that, they'll see someone and not realize the difference. You'll see a lot of thinner guys I know, and they'll see a certain individual, and they'll say, okay, well, I want to build up to that, but they're not realizing, well, not only is that guy leaner than you, he outweighs you by 35 pounds. And I think that's a wake-up call for a lot of them. They're like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, even though you might be a thinner guy, that guy has less fat than you. Less total fat, but he outweighs you by 35 pounds at the same height. What is that, 40 pounds of muscle? And you have to ask people, do you realize how long 40 pounds of muscle takes to build? And let's not even get into the drug component, because a lot of the people that people are looking at and impressed by, they may be on quite a bit of gear. If they're lean, if they're not over 6 foot tall, and they're lean at 200 plus pounds, sorry guys, they're not drug free. You are not going to obtain that. So that being said, even then they might look at someone who is really lean at 185, 190. But then not realizing that if they're at that same body fat as that person, they might only be 170 pounds right now. 160 pounds. Well, let's say 160. What is that, 25 pounds of muscle? Again, how long do you think that's going to take to build? You've already been training for a year. You've already finished a lot of your noob gains. How long does it take after your first year is done to put on another 25 pounds of muscle? All right, you might be looking at an 8 to 10 year journey. All right? And I'm not saying this to discourage people. It's getting people to understand that to have the look that they oftentimes want, they have to be a lot bigger than they realize. And that takes time. And I'm not talking about some guy who, just in a tank top looks fit and has a little bit of delta in arm. You can pump up those show muscles pretty quick, right? You can pump those up sometimes pretty quick to where you just look in isolation fit and you get nice and lean. And that's okay if that's what you're pursuing. That's fine. Just be aware you're not actually going to look big. Not by any of the standards that I'm used to in my world. You're going to look like a guy. To everyone who actually lifts, you're not going to look like a big guy. You're going to look like a guy who's fit, who's lean, done a little work, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We all start somewhere. Women, though, this is especially true. Though women will see a physique of a woman who has been training really, really hard, and go, "Oh, well, she looks good. I'd like to look like her." But you're not going to do that in 6 months. And it's mainly because that woman has 15 pounds, 20 pounds of muscle mass on you. And for a woman to gain 20 pounds of muscle, even from baseline, you're looking at probably a 5-year commitment. And that's not a 5-year commitment of her coming in just doing some pump work unless she's using a bunch of drugs to build the muscle. That woman is probably putting in some serious heavy work. Like I see a lot of times women will see someone who lifts a woman's feet and say, "Oh, she looks good," until they realize how much weight she's moving. You might have a woman who's repping out 300 pounds on her hip thrusts or glute bridges. She might be squatting 300 pounds. She might be deadlifting 350. And so I would always point out to those women, do you really think that you're going to build the booty and the hamstrings and the legs, and everything that she has doing 100 pounds on the leg press? Okay. And then you go see her do a leg press and she's cranking out, sets of 10 with 700 pounds, right? Do 300 pound glute bridges or hip thrusts for multiple sets of 10 reps. Okay, you're going to have to build up to that. You're going to have to not be afraid of big, heavy weights. And again, obviously it's going to take you years to get there, but understand it's a serious time commitment. And the sooner you realize that and are willing to come in and put in the heavy work, the more time you're going to shave off of that journey to get there. Right? But you're going to have to put on a lot more muscle than you realize. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.